Hello, I'm Alena Chapman, founder of Manifesto. And today I'm talking to you about something that is pretty darn important, and that's emotional health check. See, our emotional health is the beginning of a healthy body and a healthy spirit. Because our emotions play into I would say, oh my gosh, I'm not a doctor, but I'd say a good 90% of what goes on in our body. And if our body isn't working right, then it's very hard for us to connect to spirit. Because we got the aches and the pains and the bothers and the things that we're trying to deal with on the physical plane so hard. I like to think of it like a trinity, our physical trinity. And that is the mind, body, and spirit. Do you realize that our emotional state, something that is happening in our mind, affects every part of our body? If we are in a fight or flight, then we actually shut down part of our organs. Well, just like you would if you were in a fight or flight kind of situation. If you're running away from a bear, or you find yourself trying in a fist fight with someone, you are going to shut down the intestinal system. You're going to shut down things that you don't need, but you are going to speed up production of white blood cells. You are going to have adrenaline going down into the system, activating the heart to pump the blood. All right, because you might have to fight or you might have to run. Both are going to take lots of blood. Feeding the muscles as fast as possible. You do that too much, and you actually start to get liver problems. You also start to get the cancer of the blood. You make too many white blood cells without the little nucleus in them because they're producing too fast. You start to wake up in the middle of the night with your pulse going at 132 beats and just because you've got adrenal fatigue. Stress also causes hundreds of other terrible things. Need to say also depression is in there, but it can cause cancer. Stress is one of the underlying problems of many of the traditional illnesses we have. So that's just on the physical level of what we're doing when we have emotional problems, or we take those emotions. And I get it, folks, because I used to stuff those emotions so far down. But you're not getting rid of them. You're stuffing them down. And where do they go? They go into our subconscious mind. They're still there. That anger, that upsetness, that sadness, even too much grief. It goes in there and it just keeps feeding your body bad hormones or bad chemicals. And it affects you. It affects your whole energy field. You know what science has just proven that I find so fascinating? I actually interviewed Dr. Vargas on my Magical Moments show. And you can always check that out on YouTube. It's also a podcast on every Spotify, all the other ones, all the tons. But it's with Dr. Vargas. And he was saying how science has proven that every cell has its own light. Well, I've always said that every cell has its own vortex of energy. Well, it's that vortex that puts out light. And when you are constantly sad, or even when you are sad for long periods of time, that light actually subsides. It goes down. That means that cell is not operating at its optimum. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. And on top of that, that sadness will now permeate outside of you into your aura. That's why auras change color. And too much of that color of sadness or anger, I know anger's red. If you have too much of that, it weighs in on you also, because it is your health. We owe it to ourselves to begin to release that energy. And I know it's not easy. I know sometimes we do feel so much that that person really deserves our anger. But my question to you is, do they really care? I mean, really, do they care? If someone is angered at me, but I feel like I haven't done anything wrong, or I had to stand up for myself, do you think that person not forgiving me really matters to me? No, it doesn't. So my question to you then is, then why are you doing it to yourself? Why are you causing so much damage to yourself? That's why they say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. So that you can release it. Clear up your aura, allow your cells to start to shine and operate and vibrate like they're supposed to shut off that adrenal gland and let all the organs play happily. You know, that's what it's time to release that stuff. Release it. Plus, it alters you. When I used to shove stuff down, you know, because that's what we did in my family. My dad had this thing that said, you don't cry during the fight, you fight. Meaning that meant any challenge. That didn't mean a physical fight. That meant any challenge that comes your way. Losing a job, fight for another one. That was my dad. So, all right, fine, but you cry afterwards. Well, but I wanted to cry before. But instead, I learned to stuff it down and go on like a soldier. Well, you know what happens? I went on and I always won. Always conquered my challenges. In fact, I thrived. But here's the side effect. Side effect is it comes out like popcorn because you can't contain it. So there's moodiness. There's little things you say, snide little remarks. Pop, there it goes. You know? Getting angry quickly because you got it inside. It's like a loaded gun. It's right there. Pop, there it goes. That's why I call it popcorn. It can't stay inside. And it alters you because it alters your perception. It alters your perception. And that's big. I once had a woman who, in Right Relations, who was telling me how much her husband was cheating on her. And that's why she was getting divorced. Well, I had him in another class. He did not come off like a cheating type. And, you know, there are people that cheat even though they're not the cheating type. But really, he did not have that story. And so I asked her just off the cuff, what made you think he cheated? I don't know, just a feeling. I said, okay. Well, then she comes back to me like the next class. I guess I got her thinking. And she said, you know, I really had to think about this, and I'm not so sure he cheated now. I said, really? I said, well, why did you think he cheated? And she said, well, it's just, I've always been mad at men for that. My mom was always cheated on. Oh my gosh, it hadn't even happened to her. And yet she was carrying this anger at a whole group of people, men. But it wasn't even her story. Anyway, once she had that realization, turns out they got back together. Isn't that funny? But meanwhile, back at the farm, when she was doing that, when she thought he was cheating, she was making his life awful. I mean, she was calling his work. If he had to work late, she was calling up the girls and saying, you're having an affair. Oh my gosh, she was just like on fire. And she was hurting the man she truly loved. Because she held an anger inside her, not even her own. And she is going, because of that belief, that anger seeped into her heart and her subconscious mind. And it altered her vision. All she could see was cheating, even when it wasn't there. Interesting, isn't it? It's time for us to take the steps, the needed steps, to start to heal our souls. It's time for us to break out of all that. Because when you break out, you can finally breathe. It feels so good. You feel free. You feel free. Chains come off your heart and off your soul. You find that the body starts working better. You find that prayers are easier and connection is easier. And you find that your thoughts feel good. Isn't that cool? You might even start doing something new, a new hobby, a new sport, a new career. You don't know. You never know. We owe it to ourselves to do an emotional check. We owe it to ourselves to value ourselves enough to say, wait a minute, do I really need to hold on to this? What's the higher lesson of this? What can I let go? Maybe it's just time to forgive. Let it go. If you need help with this, I do some one-on-ones and I can help you with that. But I only take one-on-ones that really want to try. And then on top of that, we have Hello Soul, we have Inevitable You. Check them out. We are here to help you. That's what Soul Manifesto is all about. It's really helping you to live a life of total ease, happiness, freedom, and connection with spirit and your soul. That's it. Remember, spirit is love. And when we open up to that love, which is just as powerful as any anger, then we are living with spirit. I love you all. Namaste, everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll enjoy. Namaste.